Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another Shamshir sound video. Today is Feedback Friday, episode 3. Now, if you guys don't know about Feedback Friday, I'm doing this every week, every Friday morning, and just feel free to send me your demo, public, private, on my SoundCloud. The link is in the video description. It doesn't have to be big room. It can be any EDM genre. And thank you guys for the new submissions. We have a lot more submissions today to go through. And I'm really excited. I love checking out your guys' music and trying to give my 2 cents to help one another, because it's all about that internal competition for us to be the best that we can be. Now, with that being said, take everything I say with a grain of salt. It's just my opinion, so it's not meant to be, offensive or meant to put any of you guys down. It's all about that internal competition and improving. So, like I said, it's just my opinion. Let's just jump right into it. And the first demo is from Marc Blou. With that being said, guys, if you guys enjoy this series, remember to hit that like button. And let's just jump right into it. Marc Blou, Electric Castle. I like your artwork there. Let's have a listen. Big Room House. Damn, before we go into that break, impressive, very impressive, very impressed from this demo. Really get like W&W, Maurice West. It has that rave culture type of vibe. It really reminds me of the work done by those guys, and all I think about is that label, and it's sick. I really like this kind of vocoder that you have before the drop. The structure here is really sick. I really like the build-up that you have here. It's done really well. Your snare, your build-up, you're teasing the drop. So I'm gonna continue listening and see what I can give to you, because it's pretty good so far. I'm really impressed. So one thing that I would say about the break is that I think it's a little, the kick could maybe be boosted a little bit. I'm not sure how the relationship is between the kick and the bass, but I feel like the kick is a little too tight. Maybe you put kickstart on there to like make it punchy, or you use the ADSR envelope to make it shorter. I think that it could have a little bit more room just to make the break more powerful. So that's one feedback I have about that. The build up is really good. I'm really impressed with the drop. Really like how you switched it up with the second drop too. I've been starting to do that with a new track that I haven't released yet, but I did the same thing. And I think one thing that I'd say overall it's good. I would just focus mostly on what you can do with this break, just to make the break not so weak in comparison to the drop, because the drop is powerful, and the break needs to kind of build on that excitement, not supersede it. But here, I feel like the bass could be a little bit more competitive with the drop. Obviously not over top it, but a little bit more. Overall, this is a really good demo. It could probably be driven more on the master, but don't worry about that. I think always we should prioritize creativity and a cleaner mix over making a loud mix. I couldn't tell you, still to this day, just the loudness wars, right? We always want to make things loud, louder, louder, louder. But with that being said, it also creates more fatigue, and then we get more tired of our track. So I like what you have here, Marc. Good job. I would say see what you can do to maybe improve the break. Don't really have a whole lot to say about this in terms of mix. It's pretty clean, and I like the structure. So nice, man, and feel free to send more to me for next week or whatever. Nice job. Let's move on to the second demo. So this comes from Æsir. Ooh, I like this. Some like pyramid action. It's like exploding. Something's coming out of it. Anyways, let's go ahead and listen to this. Aria, original mix. One thing I want to say, guys, I've been noticing this with my own tracks too, is that it seems like SoundCloud trims a track. So like even if a track has like a little bit of a fade in, for some reason SoundCloud just starts right off the bat. So it's not your track, it's just like SoundCloud is stupid. And I think SoundCloud's bitrate is really bad these days. I think it's 128-ish. I see what you're doing here. You're doing the 30-second intro. I will say that snare fill is I don't know if it's just too quiet or if you EQ'd it heavily. Be careful, guys, with and with you, Æsir. I'm just gonna call you Mr. A. Be careful with removing too much low-end energy from snares. In particular, like drums, if you remove too much energy, if you high pass it, or if you use a low shelf EQ and you go too crazy, you go too ham, you remove the power. All of a sudden, a bass drum or a powerful snare drum that has that energy around 100 to 200 hertz has all of a sudden lost that energy. And there are situations, don't get me wrong, where I've had like my snare drum in the drop, the clap with the kick, I've had that heavily EQ'd, but I'm talking about like one-off drums where you want them like all of a sudden that becomes like right. It becomes very to the point where it's like, okay, well, why is it in the mix? So just be careful, Æsir, with I just think about the computer Æsir. Just be careful with snares. You don't want to, I don't know what you're doing the processing, maybe you could explain, but just be careful. Good. good on you here. The kick is a little off-putting. The kick sounds like it's like, I think that you pitched it, and during that pitch change, it might have gotten manipulated too much, affecting the transient, because the transient's not kicking through the mix. If you have a listen, it's very clicky instead of having a strong punch, a strong oomph, a strong thump. And the lead, it sounds like it has mono and it's wide, that's totally fine. Leads can be in mono, leads can be wide, leads can have space in both, but the kick should still be cutting through the mix and complementing that lead, and the lead should be complementing the kick. Kind of, from what I'm hearing, like, I feel like the kick has been pitch manipulated, affecting the transient, and I would see about boosting that kick. If you're persistent on keeping the kick, maybe you could try processing the kick to bring some more life out of the kick, to spice it up, maybe with some saturation or a transient plug-in, something like that. If it doesn't work, maybe try a different kick, because it doesn't have that thump that the build-up made the expectation for. So the two things I would say about this, I like how you did that, like, fade in for this after the drop, that cool SFX that you have. I don't know if the drop needed to be extended. I think you did a 45-second drop. Yeah, 45-second drop. Keeping the pitch of the lead so high might not have been the best idea. I would see in the future, maybe like here. It's cool how you did a switch up, but maybe after that, coming back down, like doing the switch up but coming back down, or maybe changing up the melody or something like that. I've seen this as a pattern with some other artists, so be careful with the break. Now, I'm not saying that you have to take this and reconstruct your whole song. These are just tips, 2 cents opinion. But with the break, it's building up so slowly, and I've noticed a lot, and it's not a general rule of thumb, but I've noticed a lot of revealed tracks and modern dance music, and with the attention span of people these days, and the fact that Spotify and all this is just, there's so many young listeners, the break, I think maybe would have been a cool idea to just do a fade out and then back verb just smack right into like a hands up saw that you have there. I really like that sound. I know you were probably going for that Middle Eastern Egyptian like vibe, but I think it wasn't really fully realized in the break melody, and I would try to improve the break melody and maybe restructure it so that you go into that saw faster than building up into it. It just didn't build the hype for it. Have a listen to this kick and we'll go back to the drop. Now drop. And break. So it sounds like it's maybe the same kick. Maybe it's a mix down issue in regards to what I said earlier with the kick. So could be a variety of things. I don't think I would have done that, but I think that works, I guess, the going the pitch up. It's different. Yeah, I would focus on making that kick more powerful, and maybe you can spice up the drop with like more SFX, or sweetening up the mix, if you will, the salt and the pepper to it. So let's see here. You have a good idea on structure. I would just continue to work on your sound, continue to make some beats, and I think this will come naturally to you. But appreciate the submission, Æsir. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. Oh, good, my brother. Good. And let's move on. So, second track by Æsir. You really liking them Egyptian vibes. It's a nice pick. Is that a camel? Shotor. That's how you say camel in Persian. Hathor, original mix. Really cool. I like this idea. The kick and the drums are much more powerful in this project that you have. And though I'm not a psytrance expert by any means, I would definitely say my expertise, even take that with a grain of salt, I'd say my most experience and love is in the house genre, and electro house, big room house, glitch house, bass house, whatever you want to associate to the 128 BPM world. This is definitely might be where you excel, because I definitely get much better vibes with this demo. I would have liked to maybe hear something with some more bottom end, some more subsonic frequencies, but this is a pretty good idea, and it's very aggressive and has a lot of movement and action. So one thing in comparison to the drop is that the break, simplicity is good. Avicii talked about the power of predictability. When a song has predictability, people can sing to it, can hum to it. It's easier to understand. That's part of the reason, actually, guys, side note, that electro house stopped being powerful. People are not in the dance floor to hear like wah 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 yeah 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 wah 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 yeah yeah yeah. They can vibe to like dun 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 dun, right? Not wah wah yeah 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 wah 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 yeah yeah yeah. So that's why that evolution took place. Now with the break that you have here, this melody, I think maybe I would have tried something more sophisticated, because it's just too basic. It's dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And then the saw is like, it sounds like it's heavily processed or over compressed or something, but it sounds like it's suffocating. It sounds very noisy. So I would see what was the cause of that, and maybe there's too much processing, maybe there's too much distortion, or maybe something about just so much noise could be. So I'd say work on the break and think about the subsonic frequencies that you have, because I feel like it's lacking that low end body. Though that there's that punch, maybe you're producing on let me know what you're producing on, because sometimes you might get this impression that your track has a lot of bass, but that's just the extra EQ on your headphones that you're hearing, or the boominess of the room. So be careful and use references. So that's my 2 cents for this track. Good idea, dope drop, but I would see what you can do to improve with the bass, the subsonic frequencies, and with the break, it's not that exciting, the melody, and those break saws I would try to improve upon. But definitely you have a lot of creativity, and it's evident that, you know, something like this, I would keep working on your sounds, and I'm sure you're gonna get to that place that you want to be. Just gonna take some time. So thank you for that. And we have another track. I'm not sure if this guy already submitted. I don't think so. It's from Vasu. I wish I could. Oh, chop doge. Oh, look at the doge. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's have a listen. Already getting some like Martin Garrix vibes, and I wanted to pause it for a second because we don't need to be like each other, but with Æsir, like that melody, like I said, it can be simple like this, but with Vasu you can also, like, what I liked about the intro of Vasu's demo is that the melody is basic, dun 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 dun, dun, but he's got those chords. So coming back to Æsir, like maybe adding chords and be, you know, spicing up that lead. Try experimenting things, but let's just move on. Anyways, let's have a listen. That's a sick drop. Love that drop. There's so much like ear candy in that drop. I get Martin Garrix, Brooks vibes, so I think probably you drew a lot of inspiration from those guys. One thing that I want to say right off the bat before I forget is the kick. It sounds very like tinny. If we have a listen. Or maybe the kick is fine and there's just things that are not getting out of the way of the kick. So I know you're probably doing some special sidechain, because sometimes we can't go too aggressive with sidechain if we want the synth to pop through. So we can either play with the dry wet of the sidechain, slightly backing it off, or we can make a tighter sidechain so that that lead, that synth can pop through, but still getting out of the way of the kick. It's this ever ongoing battle of too much sidechain or too little sidechain. So I would just be careful with the kick, because it's sounding fabulous, these melodies and the synths and everything that you have. The only thing that was off-putting to me naturally was the kick. When I heard the kick, I was just like, it's something was off-putting about it. So that's one thing. Cat is trying to go. You want to leave? In regards to the intro, I don't know if it's because of SoundCloud or maybe just my gear, but I was hearing a little bit of like distortion, so just be careful with the mastering. Thus far, everything is sounding dope. all I have to say is just really the kick, something about it. Something about it. The kick sounds like it's very like high up there, rather than having that like thump, like having that like immediate that punchiness, but with also the body. So it seems like the body of the kick, maybe you EQ'd it heavily or something like that. So, but it's sounding dope. This idea is very, very sick, very creative. Very sick. This is like the type of song that could be on Stamped. The only thing really that would prevent it from being on Stamped is the state of that kick. I think would make the A&R from the label be like, like the kick needs improvement or the bass needs improvement. So see what you could do, and maybe just have a reference and a listen to a Brooks track, a Martin Garrix track in a similar or the same key, just to get an idea of what you could do with that kick. Maybe you could keep it and process it differently. The hardest and the worst thing I know as producers, we never want to do this of like switching up the kick, but sometimes we have to. This one producer who has releases on Spinnin' and whatnot, his name's Hunter Siegel, and he said that, like, you know, sometimes he would work on a song and all the way towards the end, and his colleague would be like, yo, that kick sounds like crap. He's like, damn it, like, I gotta change the kick. So sometimes it could be the kick. Maybe you can complement that kick with some sub layer or bass layer underneath, because the only thing I really have an issue with is the kick and the bodiness of the drop. But the break is dope. I like how you did that fade in here, going in there. Really nice. Gave me goosebumps listening to that drop. So good for you, man. Really excited hearing that. Thank you for sending it to me, Mr. Vasu. So the next one is from Mharwean Jhymes Malolot. Mharwean. Okay, we'll just call you Mharwean. So Mr. Mharwean sent over something to us, and let's have a listen. Before we get too excited here, the intro I feel like had too much wetness going on. It's like a siesta. Let's hear it. Listen. You got that, and then you got the one shots reverb. So it could be a little bit too much potentially, but just my 2 cents. If you're ever trying to go for that dark vibe, instead of doing dun 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 dun, try dun dun dun, right? The note right above that root note. So if like your root note is G, the brass stab right before being G sharp. Dun 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 dun. So sometimes the note can really change, the one brass note can really change the attitude, but it's all about the attitude and the tone that you're going for. I'm reading here, is this a big room with a stamped record style? So let's see. So definitely it needs a lot of work, Mharwean, because this drop here, I think it got pushed out too long. Maybe if you wanted to minimize it, and it's suffering a lot from mix down issue, because this, we're getting less bass than this. Like I feel like the drop is lacking the energy, with the build up, the expectation that was built up before the drop. The drums that you have here with the hats and the claps and this like that dun 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 dun, what that sound that you have there, you know, it reminds me of like a stamped vibe, but I think you'd have to go to the drawing board and see what you can do to improve your mix, to improve either even the master, and it needs a lot of work in terms of that, because it just feels like the structure is kind of strange. You have this going on, and then that big build up, and then the drop doesn't have that impact that the listener is yearning for. The kick feels very like lacking that body. So let's keep going. That's cool how you did the that sample effect. I've done a tutorial about that on using Edison on how to do that, of stacking the kicks or stacking a sound. So that's cool. But I still think that with the track as a whole, you just need to work on music more and keep creating. It's that 10,000 hour rule, you know. Anything we do long enough, we're gonna get good at over time. So that is really my 2 cents on that. The mix needs more work. I would look at what you can do to tighten up the structure and have a look at the stamped tracks. I think someone I would highly recommend for you to reference, Mharwean, is Loopers. Loopers has a great production, and I've watched and I've made a video about some of his masterclass kind of like sessions, but check out his stuff. And referencing his music would be ideal, because he is on Stamped, and he has a kind of like big room dance kind of style, big room house. And so thank you for sending that, Mharwean. Let's go over to Ox, OVXX, Warsh with Metaroom Remastered. I just noticed. Oh, Mahogany Christian dubstep. Sorry, I was scrubbing through it because I was like, is this like troll? One thing I'll say is that guitar is heavily stretched. It, you can just hear it, like it's just so stretched. It sounds like it's stretched. Maybe it's not, but it sounds like it's time stretched. Like just the way it sounds. I don't know what to say about this one. It's very different. It's like experimental. So I don't really have much to say about this. I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. I don't know what the intended vibe is. Is it serious? Is it satirical? Is it experimental? I will say the kick is kind of punchy, you know, during this, but yeah, not much to say about this one. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this one. Thanks for sending it. Thanks, OVXX. I can't really comment too much on something like this. Yeah, let's move on. Okay, guys, let's move on to the next one. Thank you, OVXX, for sending this track. Just don't really have anything to say about it. It's just like experiment. I don't know. Christian dubstep vibes. Back to you, Selena Gomez, Harvin remix. So this is from Harvin. Thank you, Harvin. And let us have a listen. He said in his message that he had to remove the vocal one because of copyright. So this is the instrumental version. So I expect that he'll have, you know, his bootleg with the vocal. So right off the bat, I want to say this structure is really cool. I really like what you did with this minimalism. Actually, I wouldn't use the word minimalism, but creating this kind of crescendo. Here, maybe I would have tried like a more effects, like a swoosh or an impact with a sweep kind of effect, like a nice kind of sweep. Nothing too crazy, but just to complement this soft, gentle kind of buildup that you have. I really like those trappy snares that you chose during that buildup. I will say that the drop is lacking in terms of bass. Like I'm listening on my Odysseys maxed out, and the song could be louder and have more bass. Now I don't know if maybe because you took the vocals out that compromises had to be made for the sake of this demo that you sent me. But this, I think if you wanted the kick laid back, Luke talks about this. If the kick is kind of just a simple kick, then the bass needs to be, the synth needs to drive that bass. if the bass is not so powerful, then the kick needs to. So it's this always ongoing war of like, okay, well, because you can't have let's just get this out of the way. You can't have a big room kick, right, with like sub bass in the drop, because that makes no sense, right? Like, why would you have a big room kick and have sub bass? Here, I think it's lacking both. The kick is not as powerful as it could be, and the synth could have a sub layer or some sort of like maybe even boosting the frequencies in the sub, giving it a little bit more body but also more width, because I think it's lacking width, which is okay. The vocals make up for it, but I think that it should drive a lot of like really give that like full-blown power, especially because, you know, the build-up is really good, so you'd be doing yourself an injustice not to give that synth the power that it really needs. And I think it would be better suited in the synth, because if the kick becomes super bassy, then it's like boom, 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 but we want that. I think the synth having that huge power. I think there's this Canadian artist who makes some trap music that I think you'd really like. It starts with a C. Tiesto featured him. Congo or something. I don't even know, but I'm sure you can find someone to reference and find someone who makes similar music. It's a very good structure you have here. That low pass, the piano, the strings, the cleanliness of the drums, the little reverbs that you have there, those little micro details. I like the hats that you used. I like the trap snares that you used. And I'm sure a vocal there or in different areas can compensate for stagnation in a song. So it's hard to know without the vocal. If, let's just say the vocal wasn't there at all, during this, I would maybe even introduce maybe some effects, or maybe even like an ARP, maybe something playing, just to give some movement so it's not too stagnant. Your drum selection and everything's good. I think it just needs that like cherry on top. I would love to hear it. Like, DM me just a private link with the Selena Gomez vocals on them. I'd like to hear it just, you know, outside of YouTube. But I would say that synth, that's really the one thing I want to comment on the most, is that synth it feels too soft. It feels like it needs to go from like Charmeleon to Charizard to really power up that drop. But that's just my 2 cents. Overall, this is a really nice structure. Kind of weird how it goes here, how it goes like to the drop again, but I don't know without further examining the vocals what the intent was with that. But overall, good track. I think it just needs some subtle stuff to really make it elevate and become a really good production. But you've really laid down the framework for a dope radio track, a dope, like, you know, one of those what do they call, future bass, future trap. Cool idea, and thank you for sending this to me, Harvin. And as with yourself and everyone else, feel free to send me some more demos for next week, because we're doing it every week, every Friday. If you guys haven't already, hit that like button, le button. Let's check out the last one. Oh, future bass. Yeah, future bass. New ID. So this is from Parth Sharma. I think we listened to his stuff last week. So thank you, Parth, for sending. I just thought about James Bond. Used to play that game a lot. Nightfire. I'm gonna play that on the GameCube. So let's have a listen. New ID. Really cool intro that you have here with the like dramatic sense and the ethnic sense, and I really enjoy it. If you listen to the sub seems to be more powerful than it's the sub seems to be more powerful here than it is here. Let's have a quick listen. You can hear that, right? It's got that potency. But the drop shies away in contrast to the break. And the drop also has a lot less going on versus the break. So we have to always be very careful, guys. Things are not as simple as they seem. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. There are no rules, but there are. You know, that is the love-hate relationship with music, because it is like this 50-50, 50% science, 50% art. But ultimately it is subjective. One thing I want to say about this is that, and I don't want to tangent too much before I forget, the stuff, how you put a lot of energy into the intro and whatnot. If our drop doesn't have as much love, think of it as a plant. Here, I'm trying to use a good analogy. You know when you like water a plant, okay? You water this plant. Let's say you have plant one. Plant one, you water it, let's say once every few days, and you've watered it and it is now 1 meter tall. The other plant is the drop, and you've only watered a bit. It's only, half a meter. So I would say that you'd want to make sure that you put more energy and more elements in the drop. And in regards to the kick, like this definitely, I'm sure this is just a work in progress, or it's just new idea. But I would just be careful with the drop. Don't get too carried away at making the rest of the song before you have absolute confidence in the drop. That's the way I structure my songs. That's what works for me. Mike Williams does the same thing. I work on my drop first because it's the most important to me. And that way, that crescendo and the excitement can't be topped off by anything else, because anything else was worked on afterwards, and anything else has less time put into it versus the drop. So that is something that I would really stress for anyone, really, is just be careful about your time allocation. Because if you let's say you worked on the intro for like 10 hours and then the drop for 1 hour, well, logic will tell us that the drop probably won't have as much interesting stuff or excitement or as much power as the intro. So I would say maybe even the snare drum, maybe think about changing it. It's very like high-end energy, so just be careful with the hiss of that snare drum. And this is okay to do, but like I said, just focus on really giving it more body so that the sub is not shying away and becoming minuscule compared to what you introduced, because whatever you introduce, you're priming the listener. And so if the listener is primed for something like that, right, and then the drop hits with less energy, then the listener unconsciously, he'll think, oh crap, like it doesn't have that drop that I wanted. Subtle nuances that most listeners don't even are aware of, but it happens. It's just the nature of things. So thank you, Parth, for sending this. That wraps it up for today's episode of Feedback Friday. Thank you, everybody, for submitting your track. If you guys enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Smash that like button. If you guys haven't already, make sure you're subscribed and you hit the notification bell so you're alerted of when these uploads go live. And I'll see you guys in the next Feedback Friday video next Friday, as well as in the next tutorial and whatnot. Make sure you guys DM me your demos if you would like to have it featured in the next Feedback Friday. And until then, take care of yourselves, be active, stay healthy, get some sunlight, breathe lots, make all kinds of gains, and continue working on your sounds, guys, because it's just about that 10,000 hour rule. We just need to keep working and working and working to get better at things as we go. Today's takeaway, I would say the winner, like in terms of today, I'd say Marc Blou, but it's tough. It's between Marc and second would probably come by Vasu, just because of the creativity. But of course, Vasu, take a look at that kick in the mastering. It's so punchy and tinny. But I don't want to get too distracted here, right? I don't want to get, and it's a great song. Just we have to work on that kick. So Marc Blou, thank you for your track. Really like this one. This one is the highlight, the spotlight of today. And of course, you guys can check out the artists' links in the video description. I feature everyone who submits their tracks in the video description, as well as in the comments, timestamps and everything. So thank you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.